covering it up. And that's this pose. That's Callipygian made that pose. This pose is what Marilyn Monroe did, but this is Callipygian, which today means heavy or overset because she had big old, baby-bearing hips. So I went and looked at all these, the Venus de Milo, I looked at statues of sexuality in women and images and used it as Miguel because you wouldn't think of a guy doing it. And it really makes me as soft as you can come. Kids are absolutely, hardly ever are they ever afraid of me.
Yeah.
Because, what the heck?
It's completely non-threatening as can be from anyone out here.
Thanks for reminding me about that. See?
No problem. That just stuck with me at the workshop you came to. Are there any differences to your performance at various fairs?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Every audience is different. So it varies from within the fair. So, you vibe that audience and suddenly, that joke, we say, Jose does a pirate joke, and I go, what phrase is that old? None of these jokes are new. What phrase does a pirate and a pimp have in common? Yo-ho is the response, yo-ho! But there are times when I just vibe the audience and I won't say it because it's too much for them. Interestingly enough. Sterling, just because of the nature of being on staff, and that the whole street is littered with dialects, period dialects. I go into the and thous much more often, just because I can and I know how to use it and it's fun. But this is fairly conservative here. So the sexual stuff I do here, even as the Queen of Spain, it took a while for that show it's catching on very well here. It's, I think, one of our more popular shows. In Texas, it's ludicrous. People are weeping, and guys are grabbing. As I walk into the aisle, they're grabbing my balloons and popping them and shoving their faces into them. And it can get wild.
The Belubies have been motorboated.
Yes. And motorboating, I didn't know that phrase. I'll use that. So there's that Pennsylvania it's an interesting place because it is much more conservative socially and politically. So we tone down on the innuendo. And there are times when I can't be quite as flaming. When it's just if I have a huge amount of gay people in the audience, because until my friends understand that I'm not mocking anybody, I have to be careful because I don't want to mock anybody. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to make doors open. So yes, they do change. North Carolina is very conservative. It's getting less so, but it was when we first opened up, you couldn't do any religious humor.
Taboo.
Yeah, because it was taboo, and they thought, and when Jeffrey opened that, it was a brilliant idea, but there was a group of people who didn't understand that palmists are not Satanists. They just people who think the occult is the occult, and they have the right to those opinions, of course, but it limited what I could do, and when that kind of got lifted off, I was much happier.
Good times. All right. Let's see. Where was I? Now I'm losing my place. As a performer, what is your philosophy of how to engage the audience the best? You've covered that a lot so far, but
I think if I broke it down, you mean on the street?
Yes.
Okay.
In general, yes.
In general, I allow myself to be seen and to be recognized. I'm being technical right now. Then I make a statement or a compliment to a child. Kids are really good to talk to engage adults. Couples, I talk to the woman. I'll compliment the woman. And it's always a compliment, and then I engage. I come in, I allow myself to be seen. I can walk into the tents here. It's a great place to do a little bit. Go to the tents, hello! And it's blah, 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 blah. And I usually use the show. Every character should have a need. That's the best way to engage an audience, is to have a need. I always have something I need. What time is it? It may be that I always have my Renaissance cell phone with me, so I can tell the time if I need to. But I always I need them to come to my show. I need them to tell me something. I need to know what's good to eat today. I need to have all these needs. It's a needy. But that engages them because people love to help. And so the more you need, the more they'll help you. And if you find one or two needs that work for your character, I need to be loved. I need to be thought I'm sexy sometimes. I don't like when I go there, I'm doing this inside. I'm like, yeah, I'm hot. But I'm not until they let me know that. And once they let me, and I'm not, but once they let me know that, I mean, please don't. Honestly, it's a game. So when they let me know that I'm like really attractive or handsome, I won and I'm kind of done, and I could walk away.
Interested is interesting was one of the philosophical points I remember.
Yes, interested in have a need and care about them. If they start to talk, shut up. Listen. It's in Desiderata. Who's I talking about this? Elijah from the Clan Taker. There's a lot of good advice from that little poem, go placidly amid the noise and the haste, that one. And one of them is like, listen to others, even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. Amazing what you can find out. I mean, I've listened to people who I am horrified on a personal level at their personal philosophies. Horrified. And I listen, and then sometimes that listening allows me to understand them, and then we can become friends. And through years, I can maybe affect their point of view. But yeah, be interested, be interesting, be extraordinary. If you're going to be shy, you have to be. It's the hardest character to play. Drunks and shy people are hard characters to play, because it's hard to play somebody who is avoiding. You know what I mean? So just as a thought, it's always a character, and that's in acting interactive theater. It's my friend Gary Izzo's book, and there's some really good things in there. There are things that don't work. They have to be done as an ensemble. If everybody agrees on these rules, sometimes they used to have endowment characters, and that's something that it's like a friend of yours that that you can just call somebody a patron. But some fairs said, okay, every redhead is Molly McGuire. So everybody was the same. They had endowment characters for the whole cast. That gets tedious, because it's nice to name people, but people also like to tell you who they are. So be extraordinary, twinkle, listen. I think that has been the thing I've been thinking about most when I've been giving workshops now. Is like the ability to listen is overall from everything. So if you go in listening, like before I even go into an area of people, I listen as I'm walking up to them and super listening, so I could slide right into conversation, like without a beat. I could pick up that conversation and take over. That's a cool way to start interacting with people. In other words, in the world of improv, if you two actors are in a scene and I come in, I listen, and what I'm doing is second support. That's what that's called. So I second support real people. They started having an argument about the moon. Phases of the moon. I heard this the other day, like which day is the full moon? Well, it's going to be both, because my cell phone told me. But I just listened, walked in and started a conversation about astrology and astronomy and Copernicus and people who thought the world was flat and how stupid, because that hasn't been around since like 200. All the myths. I go into the myths, and it allowed me to reveal the Renaissance and have all that fun, and then we all had a great time, and they think I'm nice and smart, and they came to my show. I feel like I'm waking up.
It's good.
Yeah.
All right. What is your philosophy when you encounter another performer on the street?
I'm one of those people who play less with other performers than I play with people. I will tell you the truth in that.
Yeah.
I stand character. I try to know who they are. I don't know who everybody is. I never do. Unless you introduce yourself to me, I don't know who you are. I know the king and queen. I know some of the court people. We've never had the meeting. We've never done in the morning like this is. Like, it took me to the second weekend to find out the king's name, because it was never told to me in the morning meeting. So I don't know the cast members. I know some of them have been here for years, but I'm not really. Some of them change characters, or they change names, and they're queen this, queen mother, and they have titles. So I always, I try to listen. Like yesterday. It was Sunday. Thank God it wasn't on the kids' days. The king and queen are walking back from the joust. I'm at Anne Chamberlain's bookstore, fabulous place. She's a great playwright, by the way. And the queen had gotten one of those multi, jester hats with the with the
multiple bells.
with the multiple bells and little things on it. She's like, look, Miguel, what I got. And I went, oh, your Majesty, that's so beautiful. Your Grace, to the king, going, what a lovely cod piece. And he just, you could just see him like, oh my God. I go, you're going to have many children. She goes, yes, one for each time. And she listened, and we yes-anded. That is my rule with people on the street. Is I like a little encounter, then I like to go. Because I don't, like, if there's no patrons around, I'm not going to play. I'm just not going to.
You're paying more attention to the people that pay to get in than
even if they did pay to get in, I'd pay more attention to an audience, And it doesn't matter if I get paid or not. I think my first year I made $5 a day.
Even on inflation, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
In 1976, $5 a day. So my week.
You could buy more gas with that back then.
Yeah, a pack of cigarettes was 40 cents. So figure what that is. A pack
Yeah.
of cigarettes is $8 now or something.
Yeah.
Bad habit. Quit. I quit.
All right. Oh wow, this is where I wrote really tiny. What brought about the creation of Blind Dog Entertainment in terms of?
Our films and our working with our good friends. For those who don't know, Blind Dog Entertainment is actually a company. It's a LLC that we have. We registered, trademarked the name, and we decided that since we had so much free time during the week, because unless I'm directing or we're building something, we have 5 days a week off, and we had all these people who had all this free time, that we might be able to create our own projects. In fact, Dark Knight was filming in Charlotte, and they had a call out for extras. And first of all, we didn't realize how little extras got paid, and then our costumes were better than theirs, so they didn't want us really. You know what I mean? They just said no eventually to us. We couldn't do something like, you got too flashy, you're too big for the kit. All this stuff. And Duncan Pace and Jose and a bunch of us were sitting behind our Dungeon Museum in Carolina, having tea, and Jose Cuervo tea, and we were discussing how early film, a lot of the early stars were vaudevillians. The early comics, Burt Lahr, all those people were vaudevillians first, and how we could do that too. We'd have to break the rules of acting to do it. I had taken an acting class in town, just this film acting class. This guy came in, Terry Foy took it, Lolly took it, a bunch of took it, Eddie Jeff took it, Cahill, and he gave it to us because he thought we would fail miserably because we'd be too big for the camera. And we learned how to, so we played with these ideas, and so we decided that if we're all big, it'll all work. And we said, well, we can make a movie. We'll make our own movie. And on the way back to our respective trailers, Jose's and Duncan, who we had just really met, says, I went to Boston College and have a degree in directing and editing film. I can do this for you. And we talked about making a short film here. And Jose said, I'll put $10,000 aside for Duncan. I'm like, we have $10,000? I didn't even, what? I have to get through winter, buddy. So we created a little budget, and if anybody who knows about films, that's nothing. Even for a short, that is less than nothing. Because we had to rent cameras.
Yeah, even Clerks, Kevin Smith's film, that was like $50,000 budget, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just filmed that in one convenience store. So
yeah,
$10,000
is and we also in creating the film, we wanted to capture the imagery of our culture, of our society, our friends, but not as a documentary only. We wanted to capture the relationships between people, or who was around. And so when we made the call for extras, and we said, if you show up, we will get your face into this movie somehow, and that often does not happen. That's our pledge. You show up, we show your image, because part of the reason is like 100 years from now, if anybody cares about what Renaissance fairs were like, they'll be able to say, oh my God, look, Dumb and Miguel and Hey Nunny Nunny and London Broil and Dexter Tripp and Bodge and all these people are in a film together. Look at that. They must have known each other, And then, so that's from the movies. We did that. And then we decided that since we have cash flow in our world of entertainment, And this was really just a friend of us came up and said about Sarah Mullins, like, she's a really good harpist. She has no money. She's starting out. You guys, Doug, you have a good ear for music. You should produce her CD. And we talked about it, and we decided, yes, we would do that. And so we came up with a means by which the artist immediately made money. Like, we have a budget of whatever it costs to $5,000 usually which is nothing, but for a music project. And we try to do it as professionally and as well as we can. And through the years, we spent money buying expensive microphones and it's all about microphones and editing systems and spaces. And then we did the deals like, okay, you get, like, if it costs $5,000, we print 1,000 of these things for you. The first round, you get a $10 per copy. We get 5, we sold for 15. Second round, we get double the cost of what it costs us to make these CDs, which is very little, a couple bucks, $3. And after that, we just make a little bit of money, and that goes into a kitty so that we can do these projects for other people. So we've done Hey Nunny Nunny.
Right.
We've done Adam Winrich's, and we're doing another one of his. We've done ours. We've done Sarah Mullen. I've done my friend Martha Gay. That's about it for right now. We do have some parameters, like there are people who come up and ask us, and they're like, well, where are you going to sell this? Because we want self-motivated people. You know, because we're going to...
You're putting the investment in, you want
right, you sell it. We're not that kind of producer where we sell it as well. You know, like dirt in my hands.
You do? That's coming right off, though.
Yeah.
So then the question would be, was there anything going on in your life that made you make the step from being a performer, starting to get into being on production staff, being a director at Sterling, now you're becoming almost like a benefactor and a patron?
Well, because we all live in the same community. I think that's why. I mean, I'm old, you know, in this
Not
world.
really.
Not really, but in this world, like, who's been around longer? Jeff Siegel, 74, I think. I mean, there's not a lot of us who've been around this long, and it's just sharing what you need. It's just part of what we're supposed to do as people. One of the reasons why I love doing Renaissance fairs is I love the community. I really do. I may not go to all the funky formals, and I may not show up to all the rescue rallies. I will give money to rescue always. I will try to help my depending on the fair. Like, I live here, so I go home a lot. My dad's 88. That is a priority to me. But as far as like helping the community, it's like the two of us have always been. We had a newspaper. We had the Don Juan Miguel News, and that I sprained my ankle on stage, and I was locked up in this room. And to keep me amused, because I wrote a comic strip in this Don Juan Miguel comic strip. This is years ago. Jose comes in. Jose was a printer. He used to print newspapers in Milwaukee. Talk about leaving a job that paid a lot of money. He had 2 cars, brand new cars when I met him. Man had money. Seemed like it. He always has, though. It seemed like it. But we get this, and he goes, oh, we should have a newspaper. And we love the Weekly World News because it's just ludicrous and dumb and outrageous, you know. So we thought we'd create a Weekly World News for the Renaissance. So this is pre-computers, people, and typewriters, word processors are just happening. They have one line they might read. We couldn't afford that. So I hand wrote this paper. We made up news like baby gives birth to self, hospital queries, who pays the bill, you know, just odd things, privy monsters. And we had then we would interview a Rennie about something, and then we had horoscopes and Dear Don Juan. We had a device column where first we made up the questions and then they started coming in. And then I sold ads for $0.25, and you could print whatever you wanted in the ad. And then we learned a lesson from that, and you had to put your name on it if you printed things that were inflammatory, rude. We still would print them. If you're going to be rude to somebody, you put your name on it, and I'm not taking responsibility. And within 2 years, that paper was being read at 5 or 6 festivals at the time. We were organizing and shipping it out on federal FedExing it across the country. We had national news, local news got folded in. People could buy national ads. I think our biggest readership was like 10 or 12,000 people. You know,
It's still pretty big.
and yes, but what had happened is like community started happening around it. All these people volunteered. We didn't make. This is another thing in our world. We don't make a lot of money off of blind talk. This is not a way of that making it seriously. It's not. Because every time we start making money, we may have another project. You know, and there it goes. But this community started getting created. These people come over and start, like these women came up, they're like, Doug, you can't read your handwriting. We'll scribe this for you. So we had people volunteer to be scribes. Then we had writers coming in. Then we had, like photographers telling us that they could. Then in Chicago, our first year getting really pictures in the paper, some patron had gotten a copy of it, and they owned a printing thing downtown Chicago. And if I was willing on Fridays to drive to downtown Chicago, they would print it for us for free, which I was willing to do for free.
Yes,
of course.
Yes.
And we sold them for a quarter. And then one newspaper gave us an old newspaper box, so we actually had our own newspaper box on site. And it created community, and we really liked it until it got us into trouble because the world was political. But it's always it's community. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like living in a small town in America. I grew up in a small town. I love it. I lived in Chicago. I love that too. But there's something to be said about knowing the kids who grow up here, or knowing that, especially in our world, that women are safe. Not for the most part, we don't get those violent crimes here.
Right.
Theft happens rarely. In reality, it's an odd group of people, but for the most part, even the ones who are alcoholics and have big problems are nice people, for the most part. Bad people don't last long. It's like in our movie, bad guys don't last long, Ron. To Bernard in our latest one, which I think is a great quote.